This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Tensions continue in Minneapolis as President Trump does not rule out deploying troops. I'm Steve Futterman.
How do you threaten military force if you didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize? Norway's Prime Minister would like to know. I'm Rich Johnson.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is going to attend arguments Wednesday before the Supreme Court. Ed Donahue, Washington.
A new memoir by Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro sheds light on the vetting process. From former Vice President Kamala Harris, I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, top business leaders waking up in Switzerland today for the World Economic Forum. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A Senate primary in Louisiana. Hackers responsible for cutting into Iranian government media. And college football's new national champion. All ahead on America in the Morning. Tensions remain high in Minneapolis as President Trump is still not ruling out sending in the American military and invoking the Insurrection Act. People are denouncing ICE on the streets but are fearful of what could happen next. Steve Futterman reports.
Tensions continue in Minneapolis with the potential of troops being sent to the city still a real possibility. President Trump, given a chance to stop speculation, did not.
If I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
Reports continue of people who are U.S. citizens being detained by ICE and other agents in the Twin Cities area. This weekend, a man in his 50s, born in Laos, but a U.S. citizen, was taken from his home wearing just his nightclothes by ICE agents. He was interrogated for around an hour, then released. This man, also a U.S. citizen of Mexican descent, was detained as well.
They walked me over to the car, and he's kind of just like saying profanities towards me. You know, I don't really want to say it on film, but, you know, he saying some F-bombs and stuff like that, saying he could have, quote-unquote, smoked me. That was what he said to me. One of them said it could have gone really south for you, like the other agents did to Renee Good. So that kind of threw me for a loop. It was sad more than anything, because to use somebody that was wrongfully killed as an example, that doesn't sit right with me.
Many people who are citizens but originally from other countries say they are too scared to leave their homes. This man is part of a group assisting those who are frightened.
A lot of the things that people are doing are walking people who are going home from their jobs and don't feel safe going home. They're walking them to their cars. There are people out there delivering food to people who don't feel safe going to the grocery store.
Meanwhile, there are reports that 1,500 members of the 11th Airborne Division based in Alaska are on standby for possible deployment. The troops are trained to deal with below freezing temperatures. I'm Steve Futterman reporting.
President Trump's talk about taking control of Greenland has taken a turn in a very different direction, and it has to do with Norway and the Nobel Peace Prize. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports the president will take his plans for Greenland directly to Europe as he's scheduled to speak in Switzerland at the Economic Forum this week.
The Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Store, speaking to reporters about the text message he received from President Trump, linking the desire for the U.S. to control Greenland with him not winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Store said he's explained to Trump more than once that the Peace Prize is controlled by an independent committee, not the government of Norway. Beyond that twist, leaders all over Europe are united in their stand against any change in Greenland's status.
The European Union supports Denmark and the people of Greenland, and we do so united in our resolve.
European Parliament President Roberta Metsola said the U.S. control of Greenland would not help make the West more secure, but would do the opposite. Many other leaders, like Canada's Mark Carney, also weighed in.
The future of Greenland is a decision for Greenland and for the Kingdom of Denmark.
And several members of the U.S. Congress who visited Denmark said they stand with Greenland and Denmark. Delaware Democrat Chris Coons said the question is not just to this agreement, but to the credibility of the U.S. around the world.
If we do things that cause Danes to question whether we can be counted on as a NATO ally, why would any other country seek to be our ally or believe in our representations?
On the other hand,
I believe it is overwhelmingly in America's national interest to acquire Greenland.
Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz in comments courtesy of Fox News.
It is located on the Arctic, which is a major theater for potential military conflict with either Russia or China. It's also critical for the Golden Dome and defending America from potential missile strike.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reiterated that idea on NBC.
The United States needs to be in control to prevent a war.
Bessent said he believes that Europe will eventually come to realize that it's in everyone's best interest for the U.S. to control Greenland. I'm Rich Johnson.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, the more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Limited time, only at Sleep Number or sleepnumber.com. There's a twist in a lawsuit aimed at Donald Trump that'll appear before the Supreme Court. We'll have that and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues with the national forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
The plunge of Arctic air will be widespread again today from the northern plains and the eastern Dakotas into Minnesota and then eastward through the Great Lakes and continuing into the northeast. It will run as far south as portions of Kentucky and Tennessee. In some places across Minnesota into Wisconsin, highs will be in the single digits with widespread teens through the Great Lakes into the northeast and 20s and 30s just a little bit farther to the south with 30s, 40s, and 50s through a good portion of the southeast. The cold in the Great Lakes will continue to cause lake effect snow much of the day. Some areas could have more than 6 inches of additional snow, especially in western New York. The one area where a moderating trend is occurring is east of the Central Rockies in Colorado to Nebraska and Missouri. Many places will be 20 degrees warmer than Monday, reaching into the 40s, 50s, and even a few 60s. A Clipper storm is going to be moving between the colder air to the north and the more moderate southern air, and this is going to cause some snow to start the day in eastern Montana and then continue to spread quickly eastward into the Dakotas and western Minnesota into the afternoon and then heading into Michigan by late tonight. This will be a general accumulation of 1 to 3 inches as it heads through, but some heavier bands of snow producing as much as 6 inches. The only other system in the U.S. is in South Texas, where some clouds will form and a shower or two will move through, and this will shift into eastern Texas, into Louisiana and Arkansas tonight. The west will remain quiet, with high pressure holding steady through the entire region. There'll be some low clouds breaking for some sunshine. That's the weather across America. Houston, Texas will have sun followed by clouds today with a high of 66. Dayton, Ohio will be a bit colder with sunshine and a high of 25. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. In an unusual move, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says he'll be attending a Supreme Court hearing on Fed Governor Lisa Cook's lawsuit against President Trump. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is going to attend arguments Wednesday before the Supreme Court. At issue before the High Court is whether President Trump can fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. A source tells the AP Powell will be there in person. The president accused Cook of mortgage fraud, an allegation she has denied.
But no, she seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, and especially that infraction because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages.
Powell himself is facing a Trump administration investigation over spending on renovations at Fed headquarters.
This unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure.
President Trump has pushed Powell to be more aggressive, cutting interest rates. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Questions swirl surrounding the governor of Pennsylvania being an Israeli agent. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is opening up about being considered a potential running mate in Kamala Harris' bid for the presidency in 2024. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
The New York Times first reported Governor Josh Shapiro's claim, which comes in his memoir, Where We Keep the Light, which is set to be released later this month. In the book, Shapiro reportedly says that he was asked last minute by Dana Remus, a former White House counsel and member of the vetting team, if he had ever been an agent for Israel. According to the New York Times, Shapiro told Remus he found the question offensive. Shapiro, who's spoken publicly about his Jewish faith for years, said that he was also asked more general vetting questions about Israel and his handling of campus protests about Gaza. Former Vice President Harris spoke about the vetting in her book. She positioned the decision not to go with Shapiro as her running mate about potential frustrations that Shapiro may have in a support role as vice president. I'm Clayton Neville.
In sports, college football's national champion is Indiana University. The number one Hoosiers beat the University of Miami 27-21 with a perfect record on the season to win the national championship. Sticker shock. Surprising numbers on the price of a new car. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Here's your Tuesday Business Report with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street's back at it this morning after the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday break. No stock trading yesterday. So far, so good for the markets. The major averages all higher after the first 11 trading days of the year.
The economy is actually stronger than expected. And I don't want to say Goldilocks, but I'm going to say it, right? It's good growth. It's not seeing a lot of inflation on the labor front. I know the CPI is a little rich. I get it. It's probably going to stay there for quite some time. But I would rather have higher growth and a little bit higher, stickier inflation any day from an investment point of view.
Hightower's Stephanie Link on CNBC. Business and world leaders are in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, ramping up today. President Trump speaking there tomorrow. He'll appear on CNBC for an interview from Davos as well. Wall Street finding an unexpected beneficiary of America's weight loss boom with GLP-1 medicines. Airlines, with the first weight loss drugs now available in pill form, Wegovy. Analysts at Jefferies say broad adoption across society could quietly lower jet fuel bills, airlines' single largest cost. Some investors bracing for big tech earnings reports starting today with Netflix after the closing bell. But some are not into the noise around the fight ahead to buy Warner Brothers Discovery.
I don't even think the earnings are going to matter that much. I really think what people want to know is whether or not this transaction with Warner is going to happen. I'm very bullish on Netflix long term. I have no interest to watch the next 6 months worth of lawsuits and fights in Hollywood between directors, guilds, etc. play out. I'm not here for the political infighting either.
That's Ritholtz Welt's Josh Brown. Out shopping for a new car over the long holiday weekend? Look at those prices.
Sticker shock. The average price paid is for a new vehicle right now, this is according to Cox Automotive, $50,326. That is an all-time high. The average monthly payment, according to Edmunds right now, is $781. You really want to be surprised? Look at the percentage of auto loans that include a monthly payment of at least $1,000, if not more. 1 out of every 5 auto loans, according to Edmunds, has a monthly payment of at least $1,000.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. On today's watch list, in addition to Netflix earnings later, we hear from 3M, homebuilder D.R. Horton, U.S. Bank Corp., Fifth Third, and Key Corp. Walmart opens this morning on the NASDAQ. It's in the NASDAQ 100 now. And Netflix premieres a live TV show tonight as it brings back the talent competition Star Search.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Coming up next on America in the Morning, a new channel for Iran's opposition, statewide television. That and more after these messages. This is America in the Morning. He was a key vote that helped propel Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to become the head of the Department of Health and Human Services and a supporter of President Trump. However, something's changed as the president endorsed a potential primary challenger to Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, creating a primary in the Pelican State by encouraging Congresswoman Lisa Letlow to run for the seat held by Cassidy. Letlow, who at the time had not made any decision to run for the Senate, is now considering her options. Cassidy was one of 7 GOP members of the Senate who voted to impeach Trump in 2021 following the January 6 riot at the U.S. Capitol. Letlow became the first Republican woman elected to represent Louisiana in Congress in 2021. News leaks out of Iran that hackers have disrupted Iranian television to air footage supporting the exiled crown prince. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma report this as internet services remain cut in the Islamic Republic, and a number of anti-government protesters that have died is in the thousands.
The hackers' video aired Sunday night in Iran contained 2 clips of exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, then included footage of security forces and others in what appeared to be Iranian police uniforms.
Hackers targeted Iranian state television and they disrupted the satellite transmission of several channels.
Who claimed, without offering evidence, others had laid down their weapons and swore an oath of allegiance to the people. The semi-official Fars news agency quoted a statement from the state broadcaster acknowledging that the signal in some areas of the country was momentarily disrupted by an unknown source. The move comes as the death toll in a crackdown by authorities that smothered demonstrations reached at least 3,900 people killed. Activists say they fear the number will grow far higher as information leaks out of the country, still gripped by the government's decision to shut down the internet. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
A massive pileup in whiteout conditions on a Michigan interstate. I'm Clayton Neville.
Reaction to 60 Minutes airing their formerly yanked immigration segment. Red caps with a different message popping up in Denmark and Greenland. Some European nations want President Trump to reconsider new tariffs. And a judge and his wife shot in Indiana. Manhunt underway.
There's been another death in custody of an immigration detainee in El Paso, Texas. I'm Jennifer King.
OpenAI reports record gains. I'm the new old tech guy, Chuck Palm.
Dolly Parton celebrates her 80th birthday with a new song. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Where's the snowfall today? Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A Clipper storm is going to be moving out of Canada into the northern U.S. today. It is going to produce some snow to start the day in eastern Montana and then move quickly eastward into the Dakotas and western Minnesota this afternoon and then heading into Michigan by late tonight. This will produce a general 1 to 3 inches as it heads through, but some heavier bands may produce as much as 6 inches. And this snow will be developing into the plunge of Arctic air from the northern plains into the eastern Dakotas and Minnesota, and then eastward to the Great Lakes, and then continuing to the northeast. It will also run as far south as Kentucky and Tennessee. In some places across Minnesota into Wisconsin, highs will still be in the single digits with widespread teens through the Great Lakes into the northeast and 20s and 30s just a little bit farther to the south and 40s and 50s into a good portion of the southeast. The cold air in the Great Lakes will continue to cause lake effect snow for much of the day. Some areas could have more than 6 inches of additional snow. This will be in western New York especially. And one area where a moderating trend is occurring east of the Central Rockies to Nebraska and Missouri, or just to the south of the Clipper, where many places will be 20 degrees warmer than Monday with highs reaching into the 40s, 50s, and even 60s. The only other system in the U.S. is in South Texas, where some clouds will form and a shower or two will move through, and this will shift into eastern Texas, into Louisiana and Arkansas tonight. In the west, it's going to remain quiet, with high pressure still holding steady through the entire region. There will be some low clouds and valley fog in many areas, and then some sunshine will break out, with highs in the 20s in interior areas and warming to the 60s and 70s farther south. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The blinding snow and ice that blanketed Michigan led to a 100-vehicle pileup on an interstate highway. That was one of the many crashes fueled by blizzard conditions around the Great Lakes that spread to other states. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
Blanketing snow in the Great Lakes region led to the chain reaction crash on Interstate 196 just southwest of Grand Rapids. The crash prompted state police to close the interstate in both directions while emergency crews responded.
I seen it way ahead and I had to go out. I went off the edge when this guy got hit.
Drivers helping each other assess the damage.
You got about 100 cars.
Authorities confirmed more than 100 vehicles smashed into each other or slid off the interstate.
I can tell you that a couple dozen tractor trailers were involved in this incident.
Captain Jake Sparks with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office described the crash to reporters.
I believe what happened is that a vehicle struck a semi-truck, a tractor trailer. That then set off a chain reaction.
Pedro Mata spoke with Wood TV 8 in Grand Rapids.
I just heard the thunder and clashing behind me. Cars going by real fast, and I noticed the pickup truck in front of me was slowing down, so I attempted to hit the brakes, and I felt my truck slide. I saw some FedEx swerving left and right, and then I seen semi jackknife, and at that point I knew that it was a pileup.
No deaths were reported, but there were a number of injuries in the crash. Buses took stranded drivers and their passengers to safety, and crews worked to clear the vehicles from the interstate. The pileup crash comes as Michigan gets hit hard with winter weather, winter storm warnings, and winter weather advisories, along with cold weather advisories, all on the table. Monday's forecast in the Hudsonville area where the crash happened called for whiteout conditions with visibilities forecast below 1/4 of a mile. I'm Clayton Neville.
A controversial report on the CBS News program 60 Minutes that was yanked from the show 1 month ago aired with little notice this past Sunday. Correspondent Dave Bauder explains the controversy over the Inside SCOTUS segment.
The deportees thought they were headed from the U.S. back to Venezuela, but instead they were shackled, paraded in front of cameras, and delivered to SCOTUS, the notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador, where they told 60 Minutes they endured 4 months of hell.
CBS News has aired a 60 Minutes story that caused a great deal of controversy when it was pulled from the air last month.
Tell me about what they did to you personally.
4 guards grabbed me, and they beat me until I bled, to the point of agony. They knocked our faces against the wall. That was when they broke one of my teeth.
The network's new editor-in-chief thought that Sharon Alfonsi's report on the Trump administration's sending migrants to a notorious prison in El Salvador didn't effectively present the administration's point of view. Alfonsi told her colleagues that she thought the decision to pull the story was political instead of journalistic in nature. The story ran on Sunday night without any of the on-camera interviews that 60 Minutes had sought.
Inside, he says, their hands and feet were tied. Forced to their knees, their heads were shaved.
There was blood everywhere, screams, people crying, people who couldn't take it and were urinating and vomiting on themselves.
But Alfonsi did include some off-camera interviews, statements from the White House and the Department of Homeland Security.
These are heinous monsters, rapists, murderers, kidnappers, sexual assaulters, predators who have no right to be in this country, and they must be held accountable.
It's not likely to end scrutiny over how CBS News treats the president since Weiss took over last fall. The New York Times reported over the weekend that the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, threatened to sue CBS News if it didn't air an interview with President Trump in full on the CBS Evening News. CBS did just that, saying that it was the plan all along.
Correspondent Dave Bauder reporting. Shifting gears, with Donald Trump continuing to ramp up pressure on his bid to annex Greenland, Denmark on Monday boosted its military presence on the Arctic island, announcing Danish combat soldiers will now be stationed on the island and could be there for as long as 2 years, joining armed forces from the UK, France, and several other European countries that are holding joint military training exercises there now. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports this as demonstrations against U.S. efforts to control Greenland are spreading from Greenland's capital city into towns throughout Europe.
The measures threatened over the weekend by the United States administration will not help improve security in the Arctic. In fact, they risk the opposite. Greenland and Denmark have both made clear that Greenland is not for sale and that their sovereignty and territorial integrity needs to be respected. That fact will not change.
Mock MAGA hats are becoming a symbol of protest in Denmark as opposition grows to U.S. President Donald Trump's renewed rhetoric about seizing Greenland. That's amid tensions over U.S. aims to acquire the semi-autonomous island nation. Red baseball caps spoofing Donald Trump's iconic hats have become a symbol of Danish and Greenlandic defiance against threats of the U.S. president to seize the frozen territory. Instead of Make America Great Again, the caps are emblazoned with slogans, Make America Go Away.
They come here because they want to show the support. And of course they think it's funny, but first of all, they want to show their support to the people from Greenland.
That's 58-year-old store owner and cap designer Jesper Rabe Tonneson.
If I was an artist, or if I've made music, I could contribute to this. But now I am making clothing and creative things, so that's what I could do. That was my I could support the Greenland people from Greenland.
Tennyson says they've ordered thousands more caps. All profits, the store owner says, will be donated to a Greenlandic children's charity. I'm Haya Panjwani.
When we return on America in the Morning, move over ChatGPT for the world's most popular AI chatbot. That and more after these messages. A number of European nations did not take kindly to President Trump's plan to raise tariffs on EU nations that don't back his plans to take over Greenland. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports that the British Prime Minister says a tariff war among allies must be avoided, but some nations are planning to up the ante on tariffs against the United States if President Trump follows through on his threat.
Donald Trump says he would charge a 10% import tax starting in February on goods from 8 European nations, including the UK, because of their opposition to American control of Greenland, setting up a potentially dangerous test of US partnerships in Europe. Starmer says Britain supports the fundamental right of Greenland and Denmark to decide the future of the Arctic island.
This has been very badly received across the United Kingdom. We're allies of the United States, and we work closely with them, and therefore I'm not surprised by the reaction that's been across the United Kingdom, and it is a very serious situation.
He told the media on Monday a tariffs war with NATO allies over Greenland must be avoided.
Tariffs should not be used against allies in this way. In relation to the escalation, look, a tariff war is in nobody's interests. And we have not got to that stage, and my focus, therefore, is making sure we don't get to that stage, and that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Trump has argued Russia and China might try to take over Greenland. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A manhunt underway as state and local police in Indiana investigate after a judge and his wife were injured in a shooting. Police report Judge Stephen Meyer was shot in the arm and his wife Kimberly Meyer was shot in the hip at their home. Both the judge and his wife were rushed to a hospital and are in stable condition. Police have not released a motive or any suspect descriptions. The Indiana Supreme Court has told all judges to remain vigilant and take proper security measures. Federal officials say there's been another death at an immigration detention facility in Texas, the second such death in just 2 weeks. Jennifer King reports.
There's been another death in custody of an immigration detainee at the sprawling Camp Montana East tent complex in El Paso, Texas. A statement from Immigration and Customs Enforcement says 36-year-old Victor Manuel Diaz was found dead in his room in an apparent suicide on January 14th. Diaz, an immigrant from Nicaragua, was detained in Minnesota on January 6th. Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is asking for a transparent investigation into what happened to him. Diaz died at the same facility where another detainee, Geraldo Geraldo Lunas Campos died on January 2nd. ICE says staff members were trying to prevent Campos from killing himself, but another detainee says Campos died as he was being restrained with at least one guard squeezing an arm around his neck. The El Paso County Medical Examiner's Office says a preliminary investigation found Campos' death of asphyxia from chest and neck compression would likely be ruled a homicide. ICE says the official cause of Diaz's death remains under investigation. I'm Jennifer King.
OpenAI is still the world's most popular AI chatbot, and their revenue report proves it. Chuck Palm has the story in his segment, The New Old Tech Guy.
The hugely popular OpenAI, the powerhouse behind ChatGPT, has just dropped a blockbuster number. OpenAI has now crossed $20 billion for the year 2025. That's up dramatically from about $6 billion in 2024, according to their chief financial officer, Sarah Fryer, in a blog post released over the weekend. This growth tracks with a massive ramp-up in computing power, which tripled from 0.6 gigawatts in 2024 to roughly 1.9 gigawatts last year. That's equivalent to powering millions of homes, and more than a flux capacitor. OpenAI also announced just last week they're going to start testing ads in ChatGPT for some of the free US users. This news also lands amid Elon Musk's ongoing lawsuit with OpenAI and Microsoft. Musk co-founded OpenAI back in 2015, but left in 2018, claiming the company abandoned its original nonprofit mission. Musk is seeking up to $134 billion in damages, calling it wrongful gains from his early support. A judge has greenlit the case for this April. Meanwhile, OpenAI is pushing ahead with plans like new AI agents, workflow tools, and a hardware device expected in the second half of this year. Visit thenewoldtechguy.com for my new wrap-up podcast, and follow me on X for breaking news @ChuckPalm.
IU fans are celebrating this morning as we check sports. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
The Indiana Hoosiers won their first ever NCAA football title last night, fighting off the Miami Hurricanes 27-21 in the college football playoff championship game in Miami. Indiana never trailed, but it was in no sense a blowout like so many of the Hoosiers' games this special season, which included 2 playoff wins by a combined score of 94-25. Indiana was able to grind out a couple of scoring drives for a 10-0 halftime lead, while the Canes finally got on the board early in the third quarter when Mark Fletcher Jr. ran 57 yards for a touchdown. The Hoosiers got those points back when Mikhail Kamara blocked a Miami punt and Isaiah Jones recovered it in the end zone for a 17-7 lead going into the fourth. Then the offenses finally got to shine. Fletcher capped an 81-yard drive with a 3-yard scoring run. Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza pinballed his way in for a 12-yard TD run, and Malachi Toney took a Carson Beck shovel pass 22 yards to the house to make it a 3-point game. But after an Indiana field goal, Beck's deep ball was picked off in the final minute to wrap up Indiana's perfect 16-0 season. Coach Curt Cignetti.
It's credit to our guys' resiliency to find a way to get that done. It's a great thing, Indiana winning the national championship.
A 10th NFL head coaching job came open on Monday as the Bills sacked Sean McDermott after 9 years, 8 trips to the playoffs, and untold heartache as Buffalo just could not get over the hump and into the Super Bowl. The last straw, an overtime loss in Denver on Saturday. 3 of those vacancies have now been filled as the Dolphins tapped Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley yesterday, and a 4th may be imminent. The Athletic reports that the Titans are closing in on a deal with 49ers defensive coordinator and former Jets head coach Robert Saleh. That's Tuesday Sports.
A birthday party fit for a country music queen when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Valentino, an iconic fashion designer and a man who dressed Hollywood and the stars around the world, has died at the age of 93. Correspondent Julie Walker has a look back at his life.
Mr. Valentino, and what a great impression and legacy that he had on fashion, as well as the country that he represents.
Very sad. He was one of the, I think, the most iconic designers, a very important designer. I think without him, we would not be anywhere close at all near where we are today with fashion. So, very sad day for fashion.
World-famous actresses, first ladies, fashionistas, Valentino dressed them all. The Italian fashion designer, known for his signature red, died at 93 in Rome. Valentino Garavani's foundation announcing his passing Monday. His career began in the 1960s until retirement in 2008. Along the way, he told the AP,
I still really motivated because I love my job very, very much.
And what he loved about designing.
I love making women sensational, glamorous.
Valentino was born into a well-off northern Italian family. He said it was his childhood love of cinema that set him down the fashion path. He will lie in repose in Rome Wednesday and Thursday with a Friday funeral. I'm Julie Walker.
It's an octogenarian milestone for one of country music's legendary stars. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr tells us about how superstar singer, songwriter, and actress Dolly Parton celebrated her 80th birthday.
Country music legend Dolly Parton celebrated her 80th birthday with new music, a proclamation, and a positive message. The Grand Ole Opry held a celebration for Parton's milestone birthday this weekend, featuring stars like Keith Urban, Carly Pearce, and Reba McEntire, who shared her experience first meeting Parton in 1977.
They said, Reba, we're going to have to take one of your songs. I said, well, how come? And they said, because Dolly Parton just pulled into the parking lot, she's going to take one of those songs. I said, she can have both of them. Can I meet her?
Parton was unable to make the event, and she recorded a message for her fans earlier this month on social media.
Some of my favorite memories happened right here on stage at the Grand Ole Opry, and I wish I could be there in person, but I'll be sending you all my love.
Last week, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee declared January 19th to be Dolly Parton Day. Also for her birthday, Parton re-recorded her 1977 hit, Light of a Clear Blue Morning, with several notable artists, including Lainey Wilson, Reba McEntire, Queen Latifah, and her own goddaughter, Miley Cyrus.
I can see the light of a clear blue morning.
Parton spoke about the release in a message on social media.
Now, I first wrote this song back in 1976 when I needed a little hope. This time around, I've invited some very special women, some real shining lights, to help me bring that hope to life again.
I'm Kevin Carr.
That's our show for today, Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.